Okay, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening as usual. It's Neil Matthews from WPDo.com and welcome to this presentation for the WP Owners Club. Today we're going to talk about making your WordPress site mobile ready. There's an increasing number of people who are accessing the internet via mobile devices. So today I'm going to take you through how to very easily change your WordPress site to be mobile ready. So, the agenda for today's session, we're going to talk about why mobile devices or why configuring your site for mobile devices is so important. We're going to talk a little bit about statistics and how to find out how many people are accessing your site via a mobile device. We're going to look at some plugins as usual. Whenever there's a problem in WordPress, somebody's probably developed a plugin for you. So there's some plugins to do all the hard lifting or all the heavy lifting for you. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about testing your site for mobile devices. There are things called emulators out there, so you can test your site on a variety of devices without actually having to own them. Quick reminder about using video on your WordPress site. If people are accessing via what I call iThings, so I'm talking about iPhones, iPads, iPods, any of those iThings, certain types of video won't work. So I'll have a quick reminder about that. Then we're going to move into a demo, and in the demo I'm going to show you how to use the emulators to check what your site looks like, and we're going to configure some of those mobile, or one of the mobile plugins, and change my development site into a mobile ready one. At the end we'll have our usual question and answer session, and I've estimated that this session will take 30 to 40 minutes. It's not a huge session. We'll quickly move through the slides and then we'll go into the demonstration after that. So, why make your site mobile ready? There's a huge and growing trend of people using mobile devices to access the internet. So think about things like iPhones, iPads, Blackberries, smartphones, and all those Windows type phones out there. They've got very small screens and they're incredibly useful for going online and checking a couple of things. But then what they're not good for is looking at sites who are optimized for large screen desktop type machines, so your Macs, your laptops, your desktop based PCs. They're configured to show on a screen that's perhaps 1,000, 2,000 pixels wide, where a mobile device is just a few hundred pixels wide. So if you look at a normal site, a normal WordPress site on a mobile device, what you'll see is a very cramped, very difficult to navigate setup. It's poorly optimized for those devices, and it's probably going to turn those site visitors off. So it's very unlikely they're going to be able to navigate your site correctly, and it's very unlikely that they're going to find your products and services if you are trying to sell something from your WordPress site. It's a quick demo. There's a view from my iPhone, so I've taken a screen snap of my live site. As you can see, you can't see any of my blog posts. You'd have to scroll up and down and move your mouse around all sorts of places. You can hardly see any of my pages along the top. And most importantly, if I point out that, probably the most important page on my site is my Hire Me page. They can't see it, and it's not particularly obvious from that first initial view that you can actually go to a Hire Me page. So how many people are accessing your site via mobile devices? It's probably going to surprise you. As I said, it's a growing trend, and you'll find that a large percentage of people are accessing your site via mobile devices. So each device, and browser for that matter, that comes into your site has something called a user agent attached to it. The user agent is captured by your web server, and it has all these stats available to you to let you know how people are accessing your site. So it's really useful. So not only is it mobile devices, it'll tell you if people are coming in from Firefox or from Internet Explorer. All those kind of things can be captured. And the way I like to look at those stats is to use the Google Analytics package. It's a free stats package. If you haven't got it installed already on your site, I recommend you do investigate that. And that is going to be one of the modules we're looking at in a few weeks' time. So what Google Analytics does is it collects all this information, including the user agent, and sends it to a package software as a service package where you can analyze and have a look at your figures. So once you capture these stats, it'll tell you how many people, and particularly when we're talking about mobile devices, how many people are accessing with mobile devices, what devices they are using, and most importantly, it can tell you if they're happy or not. What I've got is a screen grab of my mobile usage for the last month. How does that look on your screens? Can you see the numbers easily? I've got another larger image. I can swap to that if you find that difficult to read. Just if you can let me know, please. Some people are saying it's okay, some people are saying it's not so good. Tell you what, I've got the image here, so I'll open it up anyway, so we can get a bigger look. That's a little bit better. So once you log into Google Analytics, if you go to Visitors, then scroll down, there's a mobile section, and lastly, mobile devices. And what we can see over here are the top, well, I've cut it off the bottom, but it's the top 10 mobile devices people are using to access my site in the last month. So iPhone at the top, followed by iPad, Android phones, iPods, etc., etc. My site's a little bit unusual. It's only 3% of the visitors, you can see there, are using mobile devices. But in my experience, it's more usual to see between 10 and 15% of your site visitors using a mobile device. I don't know why mine's so unusually low, but I have seen in most cases 10 to 15%. So you can see they spend a little bit of time on my site, about a minute, but this is the alarming rate over here. 85.65% of the people who access my site with a mobile device are bouncing straight away. That means they look at one page and they're gone. That probably tells me, well, it definitely does tell me that they're not satisfied or they're not getting a good experience coming to my site on a mobile device. So I want to fix this, and the way I'm going to do this is to optimize my site for mobile traffic. And to do that, I'm going to use a plugin as always. Whenever there's a problem with WordPress, there's a plugin. That really is the beauty of WordPress, in my opinion. There's a huge community of people out there who are constantly developing new plugins to solve any problem that they find. So there's a number of plugins out there that will solve the mobile problem. There's WP Touch, WordPress Mobile Pack, Mobile Press. I'll put links to all these plugins in the members area when I upload the video tomorrow morning. But essentially they all do the same thing. They read the user agent we talked about, and it checks if the user agent is on a list of one it considers to be a mobile device with a small screen. It returns a cut down version of your theme. If it's a normal desktop machine, it serves up the full version. So what we're going to do is we're going to activate one of these plugins, and I'm going to show you using the emulator what that looks like. My preference is WP-Touch. For no other reason than it's the first one I used. I have looked at WordPress Mobile Pack and Mobile Press for clients, and they're perfectly good. So it's just the fact that I use WP Touch first of all that I'm going to take you through that and use that as my demonstration plugin for today. How do you test your site? You probably own one or possibly two mobile devices you can test your site on, but it's very unlikely that you own a suite of mobile devices you can test your site against. So what we're going to do is use something called an emulator, and in particular we're going to use this Mobile One Studio. What that does is it's a desktop application, and it emulates the activity of a mobile device. You'll see in a moment when I give you the demonstration exactly what it does. Mobile One Studio does iPhones, and I think it does Palms out of the box, but you can go for a premium option which will give you a lot more devices. Personally, I just test it on an iPhone. If it looks good on an iPhone, it's probably going to be okay on the others. What it does, it gives, as I said, it gives you a desktop application which you can load up your site in, and it'll display it as it would on a mobile. I'll be demoing that in a few minutes' time. Before we go into the demo, one last thing, and that's video and iThings. iThings do not support Flash. So if you're spending this time setting up your site to be mobile ready, think about your videos as well if you include those on your site. Many of the plugins such as WordTube or any of the FV players render your video in Flash. And what that means is they won't display properly on iPhones, iPads, iPods. I can never remember the last one. So the best way to solve this problem is to embed your videos from YouTube, because they always work. What happens is if you open it opens up the native YouTube application on your iPod or your iPhone or whatever, and it displays them properly. Your other option is to look for an HTML5 compatible video plugin. Just do a search and you'll find them. I think all the existing plugins are busy trying to get themselves HTML5 compliant, because they do recognize this is a big issue if the biggest player in the mobile field, all the iThings, won't display video properly. Let's jump over to a demo now. So first of all, I'm going to show you that mobile emulator I just talked about. Then we're going to activate WP Touch on my development site, and we're going to go through all the various configuration options. Let's open up Mobile 1. There it is. Mobile 1 Test Center. Desktop application that acts like an iPhone. You can change the device if you want. So at the minute it's got iPhone and Palm installed, but you can get the premium version of this, which will give you a lot of Android type phones and the Windows smartphones. Personally, as I said, if it works on the iPhone, I'm happy. The majority of my mobile traffic is from iPhones, so if it works in here, I think I've got most of my bases covered. Excuse me, let me just... So I click on the browser and I type in my URL, dev.wpdo.com, and it brings back my site exactly how it would look. I'm just getting ahead of myself. I've got WP Touch already activated, so I'll just disable that. It wouldn't be a live demo without something going wrong with it. That's better. So as you can see, what's happened is it's brought up my site with the full theme. So it's all squashed. We can't see much of the content. We'll have to scroll around all over the place to try and return what we want to see. Now, 2012, the default WordPress theme is better than the majority. As you can see, it's contracted it and it's made it fit into the page. But if we were to go to... fingers crossed I've got it disabled on my main site for this demo. No, I haven't. Let's just switch it off for the moment. Bear with me. This is not working as I thought it would. Let me have a think of another WordPress site I can go to. Somebody shout out their own WordPress site and I'll demonstrate what it looks like on a mobile device. Nobody? trying to think of a good site. Headwaythemes.com. Let's start again. I'm not having much luck. Well, that's reloading. The point is I'm trying to get a normal WordPress theme on a mobile device to give you a feeling for what a busy theme would look like. Headwaythemes.com. Yeah, that's a bit better. So as you can see, trying to find anything would drag and would drop, and we'd have to scroll around and try to find the things that we wanted to see on that site. But if we install and configure one of these plugins, such as WP Touch, we can set up a cut down version of the theme that looks a little bit or looks a lot more optimized for our mobile devices. So as always, go to plugins, add new, do a search for WP-Touch. I've already got it installed, so I'll just activate it. Thanks, Matt. Matt gave me a URL there, but I found one already, so thanks anyway, Matt. So go down WP Touch and activate it. And let's just see what it looks like out the box. So if we go to dev.wpdo.com, and immediately you can see it's less cluttered and it's easier to navigate. So what it does, it makes a nice little neat mobile device view, and if we click on this down arrow here, we have our various tags, categories and that kind of thing. If we go to WP Touch, just point out it's a free plugin, but it has a premium upgrade. I've not used any of the premium upgrade options. Does things like has better iPad support and all those kind of things. I've not actually found that I needed to go for the update. I've just used the free version to tell you the truth. So going through the options, what we can do is we can set a language. If we're using something other than English, we'll just leave that for today. And this is a really useful option. We can set it to display the home page by default, or whatever the WordPress is set up to display by default as the home page, or we can set a particular page. Let me just change that to blog and show you how that would be useful. So I've refreshed that. Instead of displaying just the home page, it's brought me to a link of all my blog posts, which I'm sure you'll agree is a lot easier to read if you're in a little mobile device. You don't really want all the clutter. You want a stripped down version of the site and the important stuff, which is probably going to be your blog posts. So you can do that as well. Next, let's configure what we display up here. Again, back in our settings, let's scroll down a bit into this pages and icons section down here. So let's have the hire me page. Obviously that's an important one. We can change the particular icon that's displayed. Let's find one that looks good. Perhaps stocks, because it's something to do with money. Perhaps we want the contact page as well. And what would be good for that? Let's have a mail one. Save those options again. Refresh over here. And if we click this drop down button now, you can see we've got these two important pages and then they're featured. So all these other things like RSS and email and these tags and categories, they can also be removed if you don't want them. So that would be categories, tags. Let's get rid of the search. We can do other things like enable or disable comments through the browser. You get the idea. You're going to work through and only display the minimum amount to your visitors, so that it's easy to navigate. See there, we've got rid of all those other extraneous options, and we're just keeping the things that we think are important. Screen space is limited. The real estate on a mobile device is very, very small, so the less you give people, and just keep the absolute most important bits and pieces. There are various other options, but probably the other thing that you might want to look at is styling your mobile site to look a little bit more closely to your main site. So I have some greens and bluey colours, so let's just set some random blue and green colours. Again, save those options and update. And refresh. Let me just double check that. Doesn't look as though it's... Let's go for a bluey colour, sort of that colour. In there. Let's see what that looks like now. There we have it. Doesn't look exactly the same as my main site, but you get the idea. You can change the colours to more closely match the branding that you have on your main site. Last little bit of configuration I'll take you through is this option here. You can set how the posts display. So you can have just calendar icons, or you could start pulling some images back from your site, which is quite interesting. There again, so it takes the featured image from your post and gives it a better look and feel. Ruth's saying, is it enough to work with the regular version, or do you suggest to use the pro version? Ruth, I've only ever used the regular version, to tell you the truth. Let's have a quick look at this. The upgrade options aren't that great, to tell you the truth. Let's have a quick look through them. Mobile features. So there's some additional iPad things. So if you're getting a lot of people coming in off iPads, that might be worthwhile. So that might be worthwhile. It does video reformatting. So that's what I talked about previously. So if you're finding that you have got a huge number of videos and you don't want to reformat them, that might be worthwhile from the pro version. I'll take that back. So it might be something worthwhile looking at as well. Okay, let's just jump back to the presentation now. That's essentially all there is to WP Touch, and the other mobile ready plugins are fairly similar. There's not a great deal to them. You configure them, set some colors up and how you want it to display, but it does all the hard work for you. So you don't need to change your theme, you don't need to add anything other than that plugin. So all the heavy lifting is done by these plugins. It intercepts the user agent, reformats your site automatically for you and displays it to your mobile device users. So just a quick recap. We talked about why making mobile sites or making your site mobile ready is important. There's this huge and ever-growing trend of people using mobile devices, and it's going to be more and more as tablets and iPads become more ubiquitous. You'll find more and more people are accessing the internet with these small screen devices. We talked about using Google Analytics to get your stats up to see how many people are coming into your site using mobile devices. It'll probably surprise you. Mine was very, very low, but the majority, I would say 10 to 15% is an average of people accessing your site via mobile devices. We talked about emulators. Let me just show you this page here. Again, all these links will be in the members area tomorrow morning when I upload the video. This blog post tells you how to find dozens of other emulators. So you got the iPhone, iPad one I was using, but there's things for Androids, Blackberries, Microsoft devices. So they're on the Microsoft mobile edition. So loads of different emulators there. So you can probably test your site on virtually every mobile phone that's out there at the minute. Talk about emulators. Lastly, we installed and configured WP Touch, and we made my development site mobile ready. That's all there is to it. Not a big topic, but I think it's becoming increasingly important, and you should make your site mobile ready. So I'll hand the floor back to yourselves and ask, has anyone got any questions? Matt saying, makes sense, but very interesting thoughts on boiling mobile content down to the heart of your site and message. Good lesson and forced focusing. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I think we're spoilt with big desktop displays. We're throwing images and we're throwing opt-in boxes and all sorts of things all over the screen. You've got to change that focus with the mobile device. You've got to give the bare minimum. You've got to give the quality content still, but you've got to deliver it in a way where it's useful on that small device. And it's not going to overwhelm, and it's not going to have people shuffling all over the place trying to find a particular page. If it is, people are just going to say, doesn't matter. I'll click away. I'll go somewhere else. So, especially if you have a particular call to action, if you want somebody to sign up for your email list or to go to a sales page or whatever, boiling it down and just presenting that is pretty important for mobile devices, I think. Matt says, I think you have to anticipate why they would access your site from a mobile. Yeah. I read a lot of sites feeds from my mobile device, and that's not so important because it's presented via the feed reader. But if they were to click through for a particular reason, that's when it becomes a problem, especially on my site because it's so wide and so busy. Yeah, but I think, Matt, as iPads become more popular, which is a bit bigger, or let's call them tablets rather than iPads, they've got a slightly bigger screen, a slightly better screen, and they're going to find themselves into the living room and out of the office, I think. So more and more people will access from mobile devices. Hans is saying, does WP Touch disable any pop-ups like Pop-up Dominator or Pippity? Yes, it does, Hans. They are flash pop-ups anyway, so they'll not look good anyway. So yes, in a quick question, yes, they will. Just while Hans is talking about Pippity, I'm going to be doing an additional session next week which is a demonstration of the Pippity pop-up plugin, if that's of any interest. I'll be sending out an email about that at the start of next week. Hans is saying he's interested in that. Are you using any pop-up? We're going a little bit off topic here. Sorry, folks. Are you using a particular pop-up plugin at the minute, Hans? Pop-up domination. This is the session for you then, Hans, because I've found real problems with pop-up domination since version 2 came out. He's bought it already. They're saying, can you explain the swapping the home page again? Yeah, no problem. Again, under WP Touch, what we have is we have an option to set the home page. So instead of displaying the WordPress default, which in our case, let's just open this up in the full browser, would be that. What you can do is you can set a particular sub page. You could even set up a page just for mobile access. Call it mobile if you wanted to. In this case, I've set up the blog page, which is that one there, and that just displays a list of blog posts. So when you access the home page, it brings up that list of cut down blog posts in a nice format like that. Again, if your home page had things that wouldn't display properly, like videos, if it was very busy, and you just want to give your visitors the bare minimum, select a page that's more optimized for them. Could WP Touch or any other mobile plugin conflict with form plugins? That was something I did want to give you a demonstration of. Thanks for reminding me, Matt. Let's quickly put contact form 7 in. Because I guess that's going to be one of the key call to actions that you would drive people to the mobile version of your site, and you still would want them to contact you. So let's just chuck a form into the contact page. So if we look at it, there we have the contact form there. Now let's look at that in our mobile. And the answer is no, it doesn't affect it. It will contract it and make it fit within the page. So yeah. That's contact form 7, and I did try it with gravity forms as well on my own site. Let's have a look what that looks like. Gravity form 7 works as well, except on these wide fields, which are a bit poor, but you can focus, make that scroll down to the next page. So yeah. Something it doesn't work so good with, and I think there are instructions on the WP Touch page, are cache plugins. So if you've got any cache plugins installed and you're trying to speed up your site, things like WP Cache. It's supported, but there are some additional tutorials that you need to go through. And this is good as well. It'll look at what you have. It looks at the common plugins that are available, and it gives you an idea if they are compatible or not. So things like Next Gen Gallery won't display properly on this particular plugin. So you might want to move over to WordPress Mobile Edition or Mobile Press. This is Mobile Press. Oops. That's the wrong site as well. Come on, you can do it, Neil. I'll dig out the URL for that one. Mobile Press, WordPress Mobile Edition. Fairly similar, do the same thing. They intercept the user agent, compress the screen, and display an output like that. Any other questions out there? Can I display my... Hang on, let me just scroll down. I can't see that properly. Can I display my logo at the top? You can, but bear in mind it's probably going to be too wide to go at the top of a mobile device. I'm just trying to think. There's an option to set. One moment, let me just double check here. No, there's not. I thought there was an option to set a specific specific header image, but there's not. It says, do you suggest RSS feeds for mobile? Yes, well, yes I do, because can I display this? No, I cannot. The way I consume other people's sites is to sign up for their RSS feed, and that then goes into Google's feed reader, and it's very easy to read people's feeds from a mobile device. So yes, I do. So make it prominent and let people sign up for your feed, and that way it's very easy for them, for a mobile ready version of your content. Ed's saying, what are you saying, Ed? Cross-device compatibility tests. I've never seen this before, Ed. Let's have a look. I'm a magpie for anything new. So I think what Ed's found is a system that lets you test. Hang on, I'm just busy cutting and pasting, bear with me. Ah, that's quite good. Yeah, so what it'll do is it's like an emulator, but it'll do a series of common devices all in one go for you. That's really good. I'll also include that in the members area as well. That's useful. This takes you down a whole new route, I suppose, but the idea of testing your site across not just mobile devices but across all the browsers is very important too, because you'll find differences between Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, which you would think would be exactly the same, but there are differences. Internet Explorer is terrible for this in particular, and especially earlier versions. So this is something I will be covering in the not too distant future. We'll talk about cross-browser testing and making sure your site looks good for everyone, not just the single browser that you're testing on. Back to mobile devices. Matt says, why do so many sites not optimize for mobile? I find it amazing when major sites are not yet. Is there a legitimate reason for this? If so, it's frustrating as a viewer. I don't know, Matt. They must be aware. There must be somebody looking into the stats and saying, we're getting 15% of our visitors from mobile devices. Why aren't we optimizing our site for those people? It's ridiculous. And it's, especially with WordPress, it's so easy to do. But I guess if you're Amazon or somebody like that, but Amazon are good. I'm not saying they're bad, but if you had a site as big as Amazon, you'd have to do custom coding. I guess that might be the problem. Sometimes I find that sometimes when you automatically send to a mobile site and you find that it's not as feature rich as the full size site, I sometimes find that a little bit annoying. Who was it? I was accessing MailChimp the other day, which is my email provider, using my mobile phone, and I couldn't retrieve a particular thing, and I was just So what they tend to do, and what WP Touch does as well, is it'll have an option to switch to the mobiles. Let's just, so if I flip that over, come on, you can work. I think this is the emulator that's not letting this work. But I know on my iPhone, if you flick this button, it does switch it to the full size version, so you can get access to the full site if you want to. Just a quick show of hands, who has their site currently configured for mobile users, or are you just got a full-sized theme in place? So say over half of you. Yeah, it must be over half of you have just got the full-size theme in place. Ah, good for you, Ed. Ed's got 15 sites in place with WP Touch. I'm preaching to the converted here, I think, then, Ed. Costs nothing. As you saw, it took 10 minutes to set up. And you're keeping 10 to 15% of your site visitors a lot happier. Any other questions? No. No more coming through. As I said, I'm running an additional session next week, which is not so much a training session, it's more a demonstration of a product. So I'll send out invitations to that. The product is Pippity. It's a new pop-up plugin that enables you to encourages people to sign up to email list. It's really good. I'll not beat on about that because it might not be a thing. Normally, I've planned what session I'm going to be doing in 2 weeks' time, but I thought I'd come back to you and see if there's any particular topic that you'd like me to present on. So if you've got any burning problems, just let me know. No burning problems. That's all good. Good. What I'll do now is, Ruth says I had problems installing multi-site. There's a multi-site install in the members area, Ruth. Do you want to send me details of what went wrong in the supports section? And it's probably easier if I answer it directly that way. I'll just get my list out and I'll throw some ideas out. What was I going to do? Using WordPress as a CMS. Hang on, what is this? Matt says, you mentioned not getting multi-site working on Bluehost once. Do you know why? The problem there, Matt, wasn't so much multi-site not working on Bluehost. It was the multiple domain plugin. So if you've just got one domain, it works fine on Bluehost. But if you want to map multiple domains into one multi-site install, that's where the problems happen. And that was by the way the DNS works, or the way you don't have enough control over the DNS. Just some of the ideas I was having for future sessions, things like using WordPress for e-commerce. Is that of interest to anybody? So setting up a shop inside your WordPress site. Yeah, Matt likes the idea of that. Analytics, what about that? No, that's 2 votes for e-commerce. That's key. 3. Oh well, there you go. Never say it's not democratic in the WP Owners Club. If you've got no more questions about mobile devices or setting up your site to make it word mobile ready, I'll mute myself and hang around on the text chat box if you have any more questions. I'll render the video and I'll get that uploaded tomorrow morning UK time, so it should be ready for you when you get up in the morning if you're in the US. Yeah, Matt says seems like WPitch is a no-brainer. Definitely, it's not a big plugin. Doesn't take a lot of resources. It just sits there doing its job, and it keeps 10 to 15% of your people a lot more happy. No more questions. I'll mute myself. Hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you've taken a lot away from it. It's been Neil Matthews. Bye for now.